Did you know that mercury is not just an ordinary element, but a neurotoxin that can cause serious harm to our bodies? It can lead to alarming symptoms like loss of peripheral vision, pins and needles sensations, and even impairment of speech and coordination. And guess what? We might be unknowingly exposed to this dangerous toxin through our favorite seafood, like fish and shellfish, which can contain high levels of the toxic form of mercury known as methylmercury, found within their tissues. We've also included some other foods on the list that you might be surprised to learn contain mercury. Are they foods you are eating regularly? Find out! Hey there, thriving beings! Today, we're delving into a topic that can affect anyone, but especially can be detrimental to pregnant people, breastfeeding moms, and children. You see, mercury is a deadly neurotoxin that can cause significant harm, especially to the developing brains and nervous systems of unborn infants. It doesn't stop there. Even children's memory, attention, language, fine motor skills, cognitive thinking, and visual spatial skills can be impacted by this troublesome element. So let's get to the heart of the matter. What foods should we avoid to keep our mercury intake in check? Here are 8 foods containing the neurotoxin mercury you should avoid at all costs. Let's begin. So, what is the limit for mercury? According to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, the allowed mercury limit for edible fish is 1 ppm, parts per million. But most fish out there have much lower levels of methylmercury, ranging from less than 0.01 ppm to 0.5 ppm. The FDA has intentionally set this limit to be 10 times lower than the level that's been linked to health issues like mercury poisoning to help avoid this disastrous health ailment. But here's the catch. Even though most fish are safe to eat in terms of their mercury content, it's essential to be mindful of how much fish you consume throughout the week, if any. If you want to significantly reduce your mercury exposure, it's best to leave fish off your plate altogether. We'll start with number 8, Big Eye Tuna. It's a popular choice for sushi lovers, but watch out because it contains 0.689 ppm of mercury as stated by the FDA. Big Eye tuna are facing a tough time due to overfishing in the eastern and western Pacific Oceans, according to the World Wildlife Fund. Not to mention, those little juvenile Big Eye tuna get caught as bycatch in skipjack tuna fisheries. Now, number 7 on our list is king mackerel. These carnivorous kings feast on other fish, squid, and shrimp. And that's where the trouble starts, as mercury tends to accumulate more in animals at the top of the food chain. King mackerel has even more mercury than Big Eye tuna, coming in at 0.73 parts per million of mercury, as revealed by the FDA. Let's move on to number 6, shark. Mercury levels in this magnificent predator are very high. According to the FDA, they are 0.979 parts per million. If you're pregnant, nursing, or have kiddos under 6, it's a big no to eat shark meat, as advised by the Natural Resources Defense Council. And why's that? Well, as we talked about earlier, it's all due to the food chain. You see, mercury gets absorbed by small sea animals first, and then as larger animals eat the smaller prey animals, the mercury gets passed on up to the top predators like sharks, creating a high concentration of mercury in their flesh. Number 5 on our list is swordfish. These majestic fighters of the ocean have 0.995 parts per million of mercury, as measured by the FDA. So it's possible to get mercury poisoning from eating fish such as swordfish. So the Environmental Defense Fund recommends skipping this one. Now let's swim our way to number 4, tilefish. This fish, found in the Gulf of Mexico, takes the crown with the most mercury with a whopping 1.123 parts per million of mercury, as revealed by the FDA. So not only is it super high in mercury, making it a huge red flag for all humans, but it's also definitely not safe for women or children, as advised by Fish Choice. But it's not just fish we should be concerned about. Number 3 is high fructose corn syrup. A recent study uncovered concerning evidence. Toxic mercury has been detected in high fructose corn syrup, a commonly utilized sweetener in processed foods and drinks. The culprit behind the mercury presence is traced back to the chemicals used during corn syrup production: caustic soda and hydrochloric acid. The concentration levels of mercury reached as high as 0.57 micrograms per gram, prompting worries about potential health implications stemming from mercury exposure. Research has linked such exposure to adverse outcomes, including learning disabilities and heart disease. Next up, number 2 is water spinach. This popular leafy vegetable has been linked with mercury pollution. Research on food crops near coal-fired power plants revealed that water spinach showed alarmingly elevated mercury levels because these particular type of power plants emit a higher amount of mercury pollution compared to power plants that use other fossil fuels. Edible portions of water spinach tested exceeded permitted mercury limits by 5.4 to 7.6 times, which is shockingly high. Emissions contribute to mercury contamination, which plants can absorb from air, water, and soil. Although it is not very common for water spinach to be grown near coal-fired power plants, it can happen in some cases. This is something to consider when buying produce such as water spinach, and it's important to check into the origin of your vegetables for this reason. Our number 1 high mercury offender is basil. Let's uncover a surprising twist about a beloved Ayurvedic herb, basil. It's been an essential part of many households, often grown at home for its remarkable benefits and delicious taste. But here's what many people might not be considering. Are you consuming it the right way to reap all its goodness? Turns out, chewing on those fresh basil leaves might not be the best idea. Recent research revealed that the mercury levels in basil samples ranged from 5 to 30 micrograms per kilogram, meaning 1/1,000,000th of a gram per kilogram. The mercury present in basil can even harm your tooth enamel, so it's best not to chew on the leaves. When you munch on these leaves, you're releasing mercury into your mouth, which could spell trouble for your teeth. Not only can this lead to potential dental damage, but it might also cause discoloration. Basil leaves also have a slightly acidic nature, whereas your mouth is more on the alkaline side. This acidity can accelerate the wearing off of your tooth enamel, making it more vulnerable over time. Instead of chewing on basil leaves, consider infusing them into teas or swallowing capsules as a supplement. This way, you can still enjoy basil's goodness without putting your enamel at risk. Thanks for joining us today, thriving beings. Remember to be mindful of your mercury intake, especially if you're pregnant or have kids. And don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more health tips, and stay safe and informed. See you next time.